Imagine driving a car that runs on wood instead of gasoline. Sounds crazy? Well, during World War II, that was real life. When fuel shortages hit Europe, people turned to an unlikely source of power: firewood. Today, we are diving into the wild world of wood-gas vehicles, a forgotten chapter of automotive history that's as fascinating as it is bizarre. Wood gas might sound like something out of a steampunk novel, but it's actually a real fuel source. Here's how it works. Wood or charcoal is heated in a special chamber called a gasifier. This process creates a flammable mixture of gases, mostly carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and methane. This producer gas is then cooled, filtered, and fed into a regular internal combustion engine. It's not as energy-dense as gasoline, but it's enough to get a car moving. The genius behind this technology was a French engineer named Georges Imbert. In the 1920s, Imbert perfected a wood gas generator design that was clean, efficient, and crucially, could be retrofitted to existing vehicles. His invention laid the groundwork for what was to come, though he couldn't have imagined how important it would become. When World War II broke out, gasoline became scarce across Europe. Civilians, and even some military vehicles needed an alternative fuel source, and fast. That's when Imbert's wood gas technology exploded in popularity. By the height of the war, over 1 million vehicles across Europe were running on wood gas. From taxis in Paris to farm trucks in rural Sweden, these contraptions became a common sight on wartime roads. Now, driving a wood gas car wasn't exactly a smooth experience. First, you had to chop your own fuel, usually hardwood or charcoal. Then came the tricky part, starting the gasifier. You'd light a fire in the chamber and wait about 10 minutes for it to reach the right temperature. Only then could you actually start driving. It was a far cry from the convenience of filling up at a gas station once you got going. The differences from a regular car were pretty noticeable. Wood gas vehicles were significantly slower and less powerful than their gasoline counterparts. The bulky gasifier equipment, often mounted on trailers, added a lot of weight. Plus, you'd need to stop and refuel, aka add more wood, every 20 to 30 miles. But here's the surprising part. These cars actually had lower emissions than petrol engines. In a way, they were an early form of green transportation. After the war ended, gasoline became readily available again. People quickly abandoned their clunky wood gas setups in favor of faster, more convenient petrol-powered cars. The technology that had been a lifeline during wartime suddenly became obsolete. Wood gas vehicles faded into obscurity, relegated to the dustbin of automotive history. But the story doesn't end there. Today, there's a small but dedicated group of enthusiasts keeping the wood gas flame alive. Some farmers in remote areas still use the technology for tractors or generators. There's even a niche community of DIY builders on YouTube, creating modern wood gas vehicles as a hobby or experiment in self-sufficiency. So, what are the pros and cons of wood gas technology in the modern world? On the plus side, it's renewable, relatively clean burning, and incredibly cheap to fuel. If you've got access to wood, you've got fuel. It's also a proven technology that works in a pinch. Just ask anyone who lived through the wartime shortages. If you know a great-grandma or grandfather, the downsides, however, are significant. Wood gas vehicles are heavy, slow, and a real hassle to start and maintain. The gasifier equipment takes up a lot of space, and you need a steady supply of the right kind of wood. It's simply not practical for most people's daily driving needs in the 21st century. That said, wood gas technology still has its place. In rural areas with abundant wood resources and limited access to fossil fuels, it can be a viable option. It's also a fascinating piece of backup technology. In a scenario where traditional fuel supplies were disrupted, knowing how to run a vehicle on wood could be an invaluable skill. The story of wood gas cars is ultimately one of human ingenuity in the face of adversity. When conventional fuel sources dried up, people adapted. They turned to the forests and fields around them, powering their vehicles with the same material that had fueled campfires for millennia. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And it kept people moving during one of the most challenging periods in modern history. Looking to the future, could wood gas make a comeback? It's unlikely we'll see widespread adoption anytime soon. But as we grapple with climate change and seek alternatives to fossil fuels, who knows? The principles behind wood gasification are finding new applications in biomass, power plants, and waste-to-energy facilities. Perhaps some elements of this old technology will play a role in our clean energy future. Wood-gas cars were born out of survival. They're weird, they're clunky, but they worked. And they serve as a reminder of our ability to adapt and overcome challenges. In a world of sleek electric vehicles and dreams of hydrogen power, these quirky contraptions from the past offer a different perspective on automotive innovation. So, the next time you're stuck in traffic or grumbling about gas prices, spare a thought for those wartime drivers. They may have been slower, but they were literally driving on trees, and that's pretty amazing when you think about it. Would you drive a wood-powered car if you had to? Certainly not for everyone, but it's an intriguing what-if to consider. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into forgotten tech, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. There's plenty more fascinating stories where this came from on Fix It Broke It. Until next time, keep your engines running, whether they're powered by gas, electricity, or good old-fashioned firewood.